a record. There is something else. There is always something with these males, because I need you to understand something. We are at a critical moment. These males, they are going to re-enslave us because their survival is dependent on that. So there is literally zero option, zero possibility that that would not happen. There is zero possibility that that will not happen unless we protect ourselves, unless we take definitive action to protect ourselves. Okay? This is why I am in this space. This is why I am making these videos to educate you on what their nature is so that you're not confused about what the solution is to be. Because once you understand what you are dealing with, there is only one option. And that option is because their only one option, right, is that it is you or it is them. And so that means that is the only option that you also have. But that is not because of what we're going to be doing. It's because of what they're doing and what they are, right? That the only option is going to be either us or it's going to be them. And they are not confused, while we are still on a global scale very confused. We are not in this because of us. We are in this because of them. And the only thing that we need to do is simply to protect ourselves. Because that is what they're going to tell themselves. That they're just protecting themselves while they're parasitizing us. Let's go to the videos that I want to review today, okay? One. Yet another video by Burr and Booty. He is really a great content creator. She's just awesome. She's just pumping out videos and educating women. That is just wonderful, and I hope you can support her. So here is this video. We are in a dire strait, and that needs to be pressed upon every woman.
I asked him why he didn't wake up. It's been a long couple of days, so we didn't want to wake anyone up. This woman has dedicated for breakfast. So she of a man.
So we get a context of what she's talking about here. Okay, am I overreacting? My husband didn't wake anyone up for breakfast. Oh my goodness, that
just simply does not like his family. This woman says, am I overreacting? My husband didn't wake anyone up for breakfast. So she's 36, he's 37, but they have 4 kids, the oldest being 14. So this woman has dedicated her whole life to having kids, her whole adult life. She's been with this man and had 4 kids. All right, so their kids are 14, 13, 11, and 9. So back to back. And she's only 36. All right, so got the numbers out of the way. All right, so she says, my husband and I and our kids are in a hotel for a 5-day stay. It's been a long couple of days, so we didn't want to wake anyone up super early, but plan to go down to breakfast that ends at 9:30, at 8:30. My husband set an alarm, but was the only one who woke up. Instead of waking anyone up, he went down to breakfast alone. At 9:30, he woke everyone up by saying we had missed breakfast. I asked him why he didn't wake anyone up. He says it's not his fault. Everyone else slept through the alarm. Our daughter 11 says she woke up at 8, but he was still asleep. I'm having a hard time believing she would have slept through the 8:15 alarm. I don't know exactly how it happened, but I'm supremely irritated. When I suggested we order in breakfast, he got pissed off because there's a free breakfast that we all neglected to get up for. We had 2 muffins, some grapes, and and orange juice left over, so at least they had a snack to eat. But he didn't even bring up more muffins. Now he's playing it off as a joke and is treating me like I'm overreacting and am responsible for the whole thing. Thoughts? Getting down to the bottom where he's now playing it off as a joke. He was completely selfish. He was self-centered. He didn't care about anybody else's feelings. He didn't care about anyone else having breakfast. And now he's playing it as a joke and blaming it completely on her. The fact that he is ladling all of the responsibility to wake up his children as well onto her means that he has no buy-in to this family. The kids are her.
Let's stop it right there. He got it right. He got it so on point. But again, she is going to miss the why. And it is very, very imperative that you do not miss the why. Okay. So there was a video that I released today that says miserable marriage. Let's review that really quickly before we go into what Burb just said. Give me a second here. Let's review that as well, because that has a similar element. That is going to play into what this is, what is going on here. Listen to this.
Returned and took out his laptop and tossed his leather
Why is it doing that?
shoes onto the floor. She threw the shoes back at him, and seeing his wife angry, he hurried to place them neatly on the shoe rack. But he then took off his smelly socks and tossed them aside, making his wife clench her fists in frustration. While he said he had urgent work to do, she had no choice but to wash the clothes, slowly washing them by hand, so she wouldn't wake the child. But her husband was leisurely watching short videos, so she opened the divorce papers. She had been thinking about this for a long time. Then her husband asked her to cook something. She reluctantly cooked a pack of noodles for him, and suddenly he knocked over the freshly pumped breast milk. But the man just answered a call and walked away, leaving her to clean up the table alone. Yet he still didn't come back. She saw him laughing and chatting with someone outside, and she smashed his phone on the ground. When he started to scold her, she turned around with a hurt and aggrieved expression. But what was the truth? The project he had worked on for a week of overtime had been cancelled by his boss, and the salary he had just received was almost completely wiped out by.
And so you need to understand that in this very video that I reviewed, so I made a video reviewing this very video about married life, okay? But there were 2 versions of this event, which I kind of got it wrong in this very video, right? So I hope to later correct that, or perhaps there's going to be too many issues to even worry about correcting it. But it doesn't really change the calculus of what this video is, okay? So there are 2 versions of the event. The first version was the wife's version, right? And the second version was the husband's version. And this is what I got wrong. I thought that it was one long process of events, not that it was 2 different versions of the very same event, right? So I thought that this guy spilled the child's milk. I thought that he spilled the child's milk 3 times, but he actually only did it once, okay? So that is the correction that needed to be made. But that doesn't change the calculus of everything else. So this thing, so the second part that you're hearing, that you're about to hear, like what actually happened, right? When this creator said what actually happened,
hurt and aggrieved
is him relaying the same event in the men's point of view when they were first in the wife's point of view, okay? So don't think that 2 separate events happened. It is just one event that is from different point of views.
But what was the truth? The project he had worked on.
Okay, what he said, but what was the truth? And that is when he starts the husband's point of view.
On for a week of overtime had been cancelled by his boss, and the salary he had just received was almost completely wiped out by various expenses. But even so, he still bought a gift for his wife. Then he received good news. A colleague referred a new client who needs a proposal completed tonight. At the doorstep, he adjusted his mood, not wanting to affect his wife's emotions. But as soon as he entered, she scolded him. Still, he needed to complete the proposal quickly. He watched the client's video repeatedly, then began working on the proposal. His boss asked him to call the client, and just as he was about to step out, he saw the baby bottle fall to the ground and accidentally knocked over the breast milk.
Okay, and the importance here is the baby food. Okay, just so you know where to focus your attention to. The importance here is the baby's food. So let's review how the guy handles this.
About to step out, he saw the baby bottle fall to the ground and accidentally knocked over the breast milk. But they were afraid of waking their son. His wife went into the bathroom, so they started arguing by text, both typing on their phones, yet deleting every hurtful message they wrote. Not a single message was sent. Then the husband suddenly sent a sticker, and the wife finally stopped crying. He kept trying to comfort and coax her, and she eventually sat beside him.
Okay, I think the baby's part, the baby food's part is over. Okay, and the importance here is that the baby food. How did this guy, from his own point of view, handle the baby's food? Which was that he didn't really care, right? There was literally zero care from him of what happened to the baby's food, right? And here is the same thing that is happening with that content that Burb was talking about. The man didn't care to make sure his kids get fed. And there's a reason for that. That is because these males are parasites, because they're not human. And for you to not be human and look like human, for you to not look like the species, for you to have the look of a different species that is not yours, you have to be an infectious type of organism, i.e., better said, universally said, as a parasite. And because it is a parasite, that means that your biology, your reproductive biology, should not, in its original state, would not have been dependent on a male. You would not need a male to reproduce, which means that you would have be reproducing yourself. You would be the only person who would be doing the entire gamut of the reproduction process, from feeding the kids, from making sure, from the actual pregnancy, from generating the actual pregnancy. Okay, I will later walk you through how it's entirely possible to generate a pregnancy on your own. Okay, I will later walk you through that. Not in this video, but later. So you will be generating the pregnancy on your own. You would have the child on your own. You would care for the child on your own. And the reason that would all be possible was because, first of all, the pregnancy itself will be mitigated. So you're not going to have to labor at the top of your lungs, screaming with excruciating pain. So it would just be like taking a dump. That is really how it was supposed to be. And the evidence of that is that how every one of your organ systems work, which is they all operate with dangerous chemicals inside of you. But those dangerous chemicals are mitigated so that you feel absolutely nothing. You literally use gastric juices that are at the acid level to digest your food. And your body has a stomach lining to prevent that acid from hurting you, right? And because that stomach lining is not even your flesh, that's why you feel nothing. And your body is littered with littered with solutions like that, so that you can drink gallons of water and not drown from the inside out. Yeah. So that is how your pregnancy would have been designed as well, so that you would carry a whole baby and you would feel nothing. It would feel like you just went to the toilet. That is how that is supposed to be, right? And because the child would grow faster, again, because it is just your egg and not a retarded sperm, right? A retarded sperm baby with the retarded that is inherent in the Y chromosome, right? The baby should grow faster, which means that you will have to spend less energy, caring for a child. The baby would also be more independent, which means, again, less clinginess and less energy put into having a child, right? Okay? And, and just things like that. Things like that, which is that you can have a baby and it's like you just went to the toilet. You will be perfectly functional the next day. You don't have to be at bed rest, right? You don't have to be at bed rest. You don't have to do all these things. That's how your pregnancy would run out. So you would do the entire gamut of the reproduction, and the child would also grow out once delivered. The child would also grow into adult faster, again, because, right, it wasn't retarded by the proteins from the Y chromosome that would have been in a sperm. Yeah, that's how it would have been so easy for you to reproduce. That's how you would have reproduced entirely by yourself, right? That is how your human biology was supposed to go. So now these males have hijacked that biology, right? So but they did it only so that they can use you for something, whatever that sex is giving them, which has yet to be fully revealed to us, right? That sex is doing something for them. And that is why they needed to hijack your reproduction in order to tie you to them so that you have no choice but to have sex with them. It is actually like the perfect hijacking. It is literally the perfect hijacking, which means that either we extinct, either we allow them to parasite us, or we go extinct. It's literally the perfect hijacking system, right? So what is happening, what these men are doing is that and because they have their parasite mindset, which is because they are a parasite. If you think about how parasites work, the way parasite biology works is that it doesn't care for its young. Because it's a parasite, it invested its genes into learning how to parasite others, not to invest in itself. Yeah? That's why it doesn't baby its progeny. It just makes them and leaves them to do whatever. That's what is happening. So the babies that have now been realized now, they are entirely the woman's responsibility. That is how they see it. Because that is human reproduction, not their reproduction, because they are a parasite organism, not human. They do not reproduce like us. They reproduce and leave the children. The human progenies are yours. They are the females. That's why these men do not care that what is the child going to eat. Their actual biology, a real original biology, works exactly this way. They make the children, they use you to make all the children, and then they just leave the children to go do them, do whatever. This is why these things keep happening. This is why they can abandon kids. Whew. And that's what's happening in this married life video. That's what's happening in this married life video. That's why he can knock over the milk and not worry about it, right? And not come back and say, "Hey, I'm so sorry, I knocked over the food. Here's some money in case you come short, and we're gonna need formula, so that the baby doesn't starve," because he doesn't think about how the baby is going to eat. This is why child support is so difficult for women. This is why they don't want to pay child support, because they don't have the mindset that the baby is supposed to eat. They don't have the mindset that you are supposed to actively feed the baby. Otherwise, it would just die. right? Even though they are existing in a dynamic where they have to eat or they would die. Their instinct is now wired to think like this. That is why it always escapes them. And when you ask them, and when you hear them talk about, the child support, the payments that they're giving to child support, right? Or what the woman is doing for it, and you're like, don't you understand that a human child is going to need all of these things, and therefore your little misery $51 a month does absolutely nothing. It is literally liquid spit. That's how much your $51 does. And they act like they've done the entire work, that they've given the entire globe to you. This thing are parasites. And the way I knew that I am on the right track is because everything was consistent. And if you flip it on the human side, nothing is consistent. The only thing they got right, the only thing that is consistent is that they look human and they fertilize our eggs. That's it. That's the only thing. That is the only thing. If you look closely at the way even their own reproductive system is designed, it is designed to hurt the female, not because it was intentional, it's because it doesn't give a shit about not making sure the female is not hurt. And so, absence of that, the female, in fact, is hurt by that, because to not hurt someone on a biological level, that is an intentional design. Not hurting you is an intentional design. So anything without that intention ends up doing exactly that, hurting you. Which is why I said in this married life video, in this miserable marriage life video, these men are going to either kill you intentionally, or they're going to kill you unintentionally, or they're going to kill you directly, or they're going to kill you indirectly. But they're going to be killing you, because that is what parasites do. So let's go back to that video.
Hers. The kids are not his. And now she's responsible for figuring it out or trying to explain why would dad.
Okay, so that is what is happening in this story. He doesn't really care to make sure nobody else is fed, because they're really not his kids. These kids are products of human biology, of human reproduction, of which he is not. This woman is the one who reproduced. He just hijacked that reproduction. His reproduction is to make kids and leave them alone. But he's sticking around to get the benefits of the hijacking that he did on the woman. This is why they don't want to touch the kids. This is why they don't want to care for the kids. They are only around there to hijack you in order to use you for sex. It's really just to use you for sex. And they happen to find out that as a human organism, you are pretty good at being a human organism, because guess what? That's how you were designed. And they, as not a human organism, they are pretty terrible at it, right? So all the cooking and cleaning, that's why they're sticking around, so that you can also help them with those things. That's why it has become not only that they demand for sex, but now they're demanding that you cook and clean as well. But before, when they first started, when the first abomination male first started, and they didn't know much about the new species that they find themselves, all they wanted from females would have been just sex. And they would have wanted sex to such a degree that they would have had to tie the female to a tree, to a cave, in order to get sex from her, because they would have wanted it to such a degree that the only way for her to be able to get it, right? For them to be able to get it will be if they tied it, if they tied her up, because she will have run. Because it is so frequent to the level that they want the sex that a human cannot handle it. You would, in order to save yourself, you will have run. And the reason that has stopped is because of their, their biology, which I'm sure probably evolved later, which that they can only go for so long, right? Once they ejaculate, right, they can't. The refractory period is much longer, but they will want you to just stay there just for them to get sex. And you've heard of, men wanting sex 5 times a day. Now imagine when the first one of them appeared, right? The first one of them appeared, and they had to go through the evolution of, hijacking the female reproductive process, right? In order to be able to get what they want from the females. And they don't know much about the actual human condition because they are not human, okay? Right? They would have just wanted a female body because they're not human. They wouldn't be seeking an actual, how should I say this, a civilized dwelling. They would have had them in caves, tied to like a stone or something, and just slicking their lust on them. That is what would have happened. That's what's happening in these 2 videos. The human reproduction versus the parasite reproduction.
Dad not get us up to get any food? And why would Dad fill up his belly? He would fill up his belly, but neglect to make sure that we, as kids, have our bellies filled up.
By the way, in hotels, you could take the food upstairs. So even if they didn't wake, that had nothing to do with it. As soon as he was awake, he should have brought the food up. But the point is that he didn't really care. His mind is not made to think about other people, other organisms. It just does his thing. He just does his thing and thinks about no one else. That is how his mind is made up. Which is why it is inevitable that they will kill you directly, indirectly, intentionally, or unintentionally. One of those 4, but they're gonna kill you. Because you are hanging your survival on something that is designed to not care about it.
This is the whole provider situation that, like, I'm failing to see the provision part of it. I see women provide.
This is another reason why they cannot. Impossible for them to be providers. They cannot be providers. The little part that they're doing that is actually providing, that is the part that is the bait and switch of getting you into a position where they can get the sex from you. It's just bait. It is the warm food that gets them the sex that they need. That's it.
Providing on the constant. Women are consistently trying to figure things out. Like this mom figured some things out so her kids are not starving. But why would you do this as a father and think that it's funny to do this? She has 4 kids. If she sticks and stays with this is going to be their baseline for what is healthy or what is normal in a relationship, where dad gets to neglect people and be completely selfish and entitled, and mom gets to be stressed.
This is why they are selfish. This is why they do not think about other people, because their parasite form, their original form, this is what it was designed to do. This is what it designed itself to do, because your biology is self-designing, right? Your biology is self-evolving. Nothing makes it do that, except its environment, right? It takes instigation from the environment, but then it evolves itself to correct for the things that are, that are not making it optimize its survival. So this is how it evolved itself to maximize its survival by simply just spilling its genes everywhere and not caring about the consequences. That means it has absolutely nothing else to do except access somebody's genes. That means its only and its entire purpose, its entire biology is based on finding a host. That is the length of its biology. And once it does that, rest does itself. This is why they are control freaks. This is why every time you talk to one, you cannot not hear the control from them. This is why they abandon kids. This is for this video. And I again want to let you know that there is not a single iteration of reality in this world that we are not re-enslaved by the males to the level of the Salem witch trials. If you want to not be, getting burned on a stake because you're suspected of witchcraft, we need to band together and fix this problem once and for all.
Gets all the blame for